Hello everyone, my name is Taylr Bahr and I'm a junior at Creighton University. Today I'll be speaking about my research on American rural hospitals and the economic impact that they have on their respective communities. There's a recent troubling history of rural hospital closures in the United States. Tony and Becker in their 2020 study concluded that more than 129 rural and community hospitals have closed their doors over the past 10 years, with the highest number in 2019. With this in mind, my research is especially relevant for Nebraska because, as shown in the graphic on the screen, most U.S. counties are rural, especially in the Midwest. Additionally, more people are leaving rural communities than those who are staying or moving in, meaning that much of the quote-unquote left behind population is generally older and reliant upon Medicare, creating relatively higher cost of care with relatively lower reimbursements for local hospitals and other providers, according to Tony and Becker. This aging rural America is demonstrated in the graphic on the screen, indicating that rural counties as a whole have a higher share of older Americans than cities or suburbs. Moreover, because of already limited financing, investments in new, necessary medical technologies, buildings, and other hospital improvements are often out of reach for most rural communities, according to Tony and Becker. Put simply, within the current literature, the sheer number of American rural hospital closures is generally the most common concern expressed. Nonetheless, my research takes a different angle, examining the impact of hospital closures on county personal income, county population, and county per capita personal income for all rural counties in the United States from 2013 to 2018. To understand the empirical component of my research, it's important to understand some important terms. To identify what counties qualify as rural, I used a classification system from the U.S. Census Bureau, which classifies counties with less than 50% of the population living in rural areas as mostly urban, 50 to 99.9% rural as mostly rural, and 100% rural as completely rural. With this information, I deemed any county which is 50 to 100% rural, mostly rural, or completely rural, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, a rural county. In consultation with Dr. Goss, I decided to use the North American Industry Classification System to broadly identify hospitals, specifically using the NAICS code 622110, General Medical and Surgical Hospitals. This code encompasses all of the different index entries listed in the far right column in the table on the screen. Now I'll conclude by outlining the framework I have created for comparing the relevant data. For my analysis, I have identified 4 distinct classifications of rural counties. The first quadrant includes all rural counties that had at least one hospital in 2013 and still had at least one hospital in 2020. The second quadrant includes all rural counties that did not have a hospital in 2013 and still did not have a hospital in 2020. The third quadrant includes all rural counties that had at least one hospital in 2013 but had no hospitals in 2020. And the fourth quadrant includes all rural counties that did not have a hospital in 2013 but had at least one hospital in 2020. I feel this 4-quadrant classification system is justified for comparison purposes, as knowing if a rural county had at least one hospital generally implies a certain level of care as well as a minimum level of activity within a county both economically and socially. The results of my empirical analysis are still under review, but they are being implemented into my paper in a clear, comprehensive manner. That's all I have. Thank you for listening.